everybody. Welcome into the Mountaineers Now postgame show. I'm Schuyler, Callihan. Joined with me courtside is Julia Mellett here. We've got West Virginia defeating Stony Brook 75-64, rounding out non-conference play for the time being. They will get back with Auburn in the Big 12 SEC Challenge here in just a little bit. And the Mountaineers' next game, not until New Year's Eve in Manhattan against Kansas State. Let's go ahead and run through some of the numbers really quick here before we start diving into tonight's matchup. West Virginia, again, winning 75-64. They shot 23 of 55 from the field, 11 of 26 from three. The two teams each rebounded the ball 33 times. Eric Stevenson leading the way, actually had 16 points. Kedrian Johnson leading the way with 18 points. And Seth Wilson had 3 threes on the night, 3 of 3 from behind the arc. For Stony Brook, it was Tyler Stevenson Moore with 16 points. And a weird night for one of their better players, points and 13 rebounds. So, interesting game. West Virginia, it was kind of an out of sync night, really, from the very start all the way to the very end. They never really pulled away. They got the lead up to about 20 or so a couple of times. Stony Brook kept fighting back. What did you make of this one, Julia?
Honestly, I thought that it was a rather discombobulated start to the game. I think that generally WVU, we've seen better from them, especially as a way to end non-conference play. I think that it was a rather disappointing downturn going into Big 12 play. I think that those who follow WVU were probably expecting more, especially a Stony Brook team that has the record that they had. This was probably supposed to be a blowout victory for WVU, especially based on what we're looking forward to in Big 12 play. I mean, the Big 12 conference is an exceptional basketball conference. Everyone knows that. But I think that WVU has shot way better than this. And I think that if this is going to continue into Big 12 play, they're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're talking about a Stony Brook team that lost to 81-45 to Florida, the same Florida team that West Virginia beat by 30. They lost to a couple of other teams that have I think Florida International. They lost to Florida International by 33. So just kind of a weird game. And this is kind of one of those games that you always worry about. It always gives a coach an uneasy feeling because it's the last game before Christmas break. These kids are about to go home and spend time with their families. You kind of wonder where their heads are at. And that kind of is what it looked like tonight out on the court.
Yeah, post-game, Eric Stevenson said he was, quote, humbled by not blowing Stony Brook out. And I thought that was such an interesting way to word that because he would start it with, no offense to Stony Brook, but we expected to absolutely blow them out of the water, and that definitely did not happen. That's not what we saw tonight.
Yeah, Bob Huggins, obviously not a very happy camper. He obviously spent a long time in the locker room and had you guys waiting for the press conference, but had some interesting words to say on the radio side of things with Tony Caridi, talking about guys not putting in work. That phrase of basketball's like your girlfriend starting to come back now. So just share with us some of the things that Coach Huggins said in that post-game press conference that stood out to you.
So one of the things that he mentioned and that Eric also mentioned was this kind of complacency that they had fallen into at the end of non-conference play. I don't understand why that's happening, especially as they're gearing up into Big 12 play. I mean, I understand that we're in the holiday season, they want to be home, but you have to finish strong knowing what you're up against in a week.
Right. Yeah. I mean, especially for a team that you can't really afford to have any bad any bad losses or even bad outings. I mean, even tonight, they're going to fall a couple of spots in the KenPom ratings just because it wasn't that blowout. And those things show up later in the years. Even a game against Stony Brook, it's going to matter when the selection committee goes back and looks at it. When we look at some of the things that West Virginia has to get better at before they hit the road to Manhattan, I'm thinking obviously rebounding and turnovers, and I know that's something that you brought up as well before we hopped on here. Just what are your thoughts on those two areas in particular, and what does this team really need to focus in on, especially before getting into Big 12 play?
I think that honestly, the rebound stats are kind of lopsided. I mean, Jimmy Bell led the team with 6. It only took him 6 rebounds to lead the team. 5 offensive, 1 defensive, but the offensive to defensive rebounding stats as a team were very lopsided in the opposite direction. And so it's just kind of a discrepancy that I could foresee being an issue heading into Big 12 where everyone is huge. Everyone is Jimmy Bell size.
Yeah. Yeah. When you got guys like
frankly concerning.
Yeah, especially when you look at Texas, you look at Baylor, you look at, Kansas always has a couple of 7-footers, a couple of big physical guys underneath. That's going to be a problem. And James Okonkwo, Mo Wagi, they're going to have to step up and give more quality minutes off the bench. So we'll see what happens. They've got a few days, more than a few days really, to figure this out before they head out to Kansas State for the next game. Again, West Virginia winning this one 75-64. That's going to do it for us tonight. We'll be back here on New Year's Eve to recap the West Virginia versus Kansas State Big 12 opener. For Julia Mellett, I'm Schuyler Callihan. Thank you for watching tonight's Mountaineers Now postgame show. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube at Mountaineers Now. And we'll see you here in about a week and a half. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.